All right, everybody, welcome back to Beans No Ball. The divisional round recap is here. Obviously, games just wrapped up. We're getting this video out right away. So, Christian, this was definitely quite the amount of games. Obviously, our teams weren't even in it, so we don't have that much into these games. But let's just get started right here.
Yeah, so obviously let's open up with the first one, which was probably one of the anticipated matchups. Rookie quarterback CJ Stroud going up against arguably, could possibly be two-time MVP Lamar Jackson. And let's just say this first half, it was close, man. I mean, but this was the one game where CJ Stroud, like I said in the past video, this defense of the Baltimore Ravens was probably going to get the best of CJ Stroud, kind of get more into him. And, who knows if he could have, but for the most part, it was looking good neck to neck. It was a tie game 10-10, and we thought, and then DeMeco Ryans after halftime. That's the one thing, with DeMeco Ryans. He can make halftime adjustments. That's a little meme out there with him. These adjustments can kind of bite him back in the ass, but, sometimes he plays it right. Lamar Jackson, this was just his game, man. The rushing touchdowns, the passing, his receivers were getting open. Not really that many drops, and then the defense, once again, even without Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, which is having a very, very underrated season. This is another guy from, this league that we were never really talk about. Once again, he did step up for that Ravens defense, and he played such a crucial part in that. And then come to the second half, it was pretty much lights out for this Houston team. I mean, the pressure was getting to them. And let's be real, that O-line of the Texans team let CJ Stroud once again. He was having no time to throw the ball. He was rushing out the pocket a lot of times. And we saw something where that O-line, fumbles the game for CJ Stroud. And, a lot of things can go wrong. I mean, like the Collins wasn't really there with all the pressure. That's where, CJ Stroud was kind of folding. And, rookie quarterback, it's understandable, O-line is not there all the time. That defense of the Baltimore Ravens was just getting to him too much. And Lamar Jackson just putting on a thriller for this whole team. But, Baltimore's finally moving on. And, the curse of the one seed for this Baltimore Ravens team, it's finally, been lifted. So they got another big game this week, which we'll preview in another video.
And they'll be hosting the AFC Championship for the first time as actually being the Baltimore Ravens. I believe it was since the Baltimore Colts, since the last time that a Baltimore team got to host an AFC Championship. And I mean, just like you're saying, it was the O-line that was a big part in this game. I mean, the main thing, apart from, could not protect for shit, all the pre-snap penalties. I mean, I lost count of how many, but there was so many false starts and illegal motions here and there, and it really ended up catching up to them. I mean, sure, CJ Stroud did what he could, but I mean, at the same time, he did struggle. Obviously, he didn't get a touchdown to his name. Obviously, it only came down to that punt return that that really looked like it was going to give them the momentum. Obviously, they came into the game into halftime tied, but like you said, second half, DeMeco didn't make the adjustments he needed to make. Harbaugh did, and then the Ravens obviously pulled away. Now moving to the second Saturday game in this divisional round, obviously the other one seed in the Packers and the 49ers. And I mean, this one itself, I mean, just like at least the first half of that Ravens game, here in the Packers, I mean, definitely the Packers had the Niners on the ropes. I mean, it started, we started seeing, pretty kind of like what I was telling you. We expected to see some rust. He looked very uncomfortable, and he never really did fully recover. It kind of did look like, I mean, sure, last season we didn't really see him really struggle in the playoffs as much as we probably thought. This time it kind of started looking like more like, a little uncomfortable, really, the inexperience maybe started to show, even though he kind of did have some experience. But I mean, at the end of the day, Niners finally did get that monkey off their back of being 0-30 in games where they trail by 5 or more points in the fourth quarter. So obviously that's a big thing to lift off for Kyle Shanahan. And overall, what we really got to talk about is, how the Packers really gave this game away. I mean, they had this game locked up down the stretch. I mean, key situations like obviously that the dropped interceptions that really could have helped put the game away. Obviously, the biggest key thing is that final drive. Obviously, Matt LaFleur, I don't know what the situation was, why he wasn't using his timeouts, the clock management as a whole, throwing the ball when you could have ran the ball and give yourself better positions. And obviously, Andrews Carlson probably will be kicking in China next season. Yeah. I mean, he just, what was this, 41-yarder or something like that?
I think it was in the 40 range. Yeah, in the early 40.
Basically, I mean, I know it's, it's San Fran, the winds are blowing, but I mean, in a situation like that, you really would expect your kicker to make it. And obviously, that was the difference. And sure, they got the ball back. And, I don't want to put too much of this on Jordan Love, but, that throw at the end, it was a very costly throw. Obviously, very Brett Favre-esque, looking at the throws he would make to give a game.
The cross-throw interceptions.
Yeah. I mean, this, at the end of the day, the streak of the Niners absolutely owning the Packers lives on. And the Packers go back to the NFC Championship for the 3rd year in a row and the 4th time in the last 5 years.
Yeah, so once again, nothing new has really happened. San Francisco in the Packers in the playoffs like usual, even with the new quarterback. This game, even from the first drive with Detroit, it was looking really good how they were driving the ball, but obviously they kept it out with 3 points, which was nice too. And then, like you said, Purdy was finally showing glimpses of him, finally withstanding that pressure. And we saw, obviously the narratives that, without his main weapons like Deebo Samuel, who was, he did change out of his gear during that game with, I believe it was I forgot what injury. I didn't know if it was a concussion or if it was a leg, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a shoulder injury.
Shoulder, okay, there you
right
go.
Before halftime,
so shoulder injury. So, he was out for the remaining of the game, and that's where, Purdy was a little struggling. His first reason out there, his second reason out there with his weapons, but, they were able to overcome that, which is what you love to see in your team. And then, obviously, the officiating, once again, a lot of missed calls, a lot of stupid calls that they made. It was, you could also blame refs, blame this and that, who knows, but at the end of the day, Packers, they had the opportunity to close out this game. Jordan Love had the drive there, but obviously that costly throw that really got them, and then the missed kick by Anders Carlson. So it's a really bad loss for the Green Bay Packers, but as a Packers fan, you would expect this season really exceeded expectations coming into this season, and hopefully regroup, and Jordan Love can possibly take his team somewhere, and my take with them still stands from what I've said in the beginning of the season. And now moving on to closing it out with the final NFC divisional game, and with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Detroit Lions. And let's just say Baker didn't cook when it really didn't matter. I mean, they were down 14 points in the fourth quarter. The last 6 minutes, I said, Lions fans are celebrating with 6:22 to go, and after they got that first touchdown with a couple time remaining, I was, time for Baker shine. But that bad read, that he threw the ball on, that he pretty much should have given the pick. That just the throw, It looked like a Baker Mayfield throw, but I can't really put the pressure on him too much there. He was doing pretty well for the most part of the game, aside from the other interception from C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It was pretty much neck to neck this first half. I mean, offenses were just trading points. Defenses, they're looking a little skippy, a little bit shaky towards the end of the first half. And, Baker Mayfield, props to him. He's done a lot for this Tampa Bay team from, starting what they were in the beginning of the season and a losing record to finally bringing them back to 9-8, winning the division, We're gonna expect Barry to get that extension, and it's been great. And then Mike Evans, still some drops during that game that weren't too costly, but it still kind of affected the trajectory of the game for where it was gonna go. But the Lions, this is the story for them, finally making the conference championship in, I believe, 32 years, if I'm not mistaken.
32 years, yeah.
But yeah, so 30 plus years, and with them making it, the only two teams not to make it in the past 30 years, which would be the Cowboys and the Commanders. So every team in the NFC has made the conference championship from that span. And obviously, Lions fans got to be great with this. It's going to be a huge game. Aiden Hutchinson on defense. Jared Goff finally returning back to theirs, familiar face with you. But this was a pretty good game. You can say the least. Unfortunately, Baker couldn't bake when I really needed him to do the most.
No, I mean, you look at, the situation. I mean, Baker was really, I guess, his team sold him in some situations. I mean, we look at, I know you talked about, the struggles Mike Evans has been having down the stretch, and sure, he did start picking it up, but it was that tip ball to C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which, he's still talking all that shit. He not really deserved after the way, that interception really did just fall into his lap after a mistake by Evans. And I mean, we look at, we knew the Bucs defense wasn't going to be up to par. That kind of was expected, but we really saw it come to fruition back down the line into the fourth quarter. I mean, they were doing their job for the most part. They were holding this Lions run game, which we know the key to this. Once you hold their run game, you put the ball in Goff's hands, and once you start pressuring him, that's when the Lions are going to struggle. And obviously, they kind of started doing that a little bit in the first half. But the Lions buckled down near the fourth quarter, and obviously that was the difference near the end. And just, a little side note that, I'm always going to throw in there, Kirby Joseph. He started going with those dirty hits once again. I mean, I don't know when the league's going to start, opening an eye on this, but it's, yet again, it's just these things that, they keep going. He just loves going with his helmet at knees. But of course, moving on to the nightcap on Sunday, what a game here with the Chiefs and the Bills. Obviously, Mahomes and Allen never disappoints. Of course, I mean, just it's down to the way it ended, but we'll get there. Yeah. And obviously, look, the way it started out looking, I mean, sure, most of the game it looked like they were going blow for blow, but I mean, if we're looking at, I mean, I was kind of really going back to think about it. Once the Chiefs took the lead on that Kelsey touchdown to make it 13-10, obviously, and it ended up being, they would take the lead for good there, but that kind of really looked into the situation that, it looked like the Chiefs were kind of, they really had this game under control, and it kind of just felt like the Bills were kind of just, doing everything they could to just try to keep up. And once you're playing from behind, it really starts getting tough. I mean, we see, a Bills team that, we really thought that the Bills defense was going to be the biggest factor here. And obviously, we said the turnovers were going to turn into a factor. Obviously, no interceptions. The quarterbacks obviously kept the interceptions down. That was the biggest thing. And I think, from the way that the Bills, playing from behind, that was probably, I mean, I still don't, we were just talking about this. There's no explaining it, but obviously that, I guess, in McDermott's eyes was why he wanted to go for the fake punt on his own 30-yard line.
It was around
13 minutes left in the fourth quarter,
yeah.
which, you have so much time. You're down 3. That's the thing I don't understand. There's so much time, and sure, I get it maybe because the defense wasn't holding the Chiefs in that position, but I mean, they needed to make a big play, and obviously that fell short for them. And
the touchback though really came in clutch.
Yeah, no, that well. And as I was gonna get to that, the touchback that there's also all the conversations about how that's an unfair call. There's there's something that you got to do to get the incentive of getting the ball, getting a fumble out the end zone. So I mean, let's just throw that out the way. But I mean, regardless, it was a lot more mismanagement on the Bills end. The receivers, which that's always been the big narrative for the Chiefs, and we see that it ended up being, I mean, mainly Stephon Diggs, if we're gonna be really honest here.
Yeah.
That main.
She was quiet all night.
Yeah, no. First of all, quiet all night. If we're gonna talk about quiet all night, Gabe Davis, I didn't hear a peep out of him the whole night. And I mean, just really thinking about Stephon Diggs, that big catch. I mean, that would have put them in prime position, probably to take the lead. I mean, sure, they maybe the offense stalls out again, but they were in a position to go ahead and win this. And I mean, Christian, you called it. We were kind of talking about it right down the stretch. We were thinking, is Tyler Bass gonna pull some funny shit and
is he gonna commit the funny? I don't know.
What was the yardage on this? Like 38 yards, something like that?
It was they were past the 40-yard line. I think it was 40. I think it was in the 40s as well.
It was some. I mean, like, it was a doable kick, and I get it. The conditions in Buffalo, it wasn't the best. I get it, and we were seeing, the wind obviously took it all the way, took it wide right. I mean, like you were saying, I mean, Tyler Bass is a good kicker. Obviously, he's probably
he's a great kicker. Yeah, without a doubt,
it was a tough situation, and it's hard to really lay it on him because there was so much else. I mean, let's look even the play calling, because after that, we even talked about this a little bit. I don't know, everyone in Buffalo knew the Chiefs were running the ball, and they got those runs out right away.
I don't know what McDermott wasn't seeing. I mean, you're in the 2-minute drill with an offense with the lead, and they're just trying to drain the clock out with Bills. I think they were at 2 timeouts when the Chiefs got the ball.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Which obviously they used those timeouts.
Yeah, send blitzes. They're gonna run. Obviously, I'm no defensive coordinator, obviously, but like common sense would be, it's gonna be a run. Have a lot of men in the pocket to rush them. It's gonna be a run regardless. I don't know why you would have that many defenders back there they're gonna pass the ball. Especially Mahomes, he's not gonna pass the ball, risk an incompletion and cut the time, especially if they're gonna punt it. It was the obvious call, and I don't know what McDermott and the defensive coordinator they were seeing in that, but it was just lousy. McDermott in the second half, his play calling.
Which now, if we're gonna start thinking about this, I mean, I know mid-season this was a topic of conversation. Is McDermott going to be back on the hot seat going into consideration going into the off season?
It is a possibility.
And and obviously, you think about it, this season there's so many great coaches on the market. A lot of them probably already have been kind of in conversations, but maybe not this season. But it could be a Sirianni and McCarthy situation that they're definitely on one of the hottest seats going into the off season.
Yeah, but I mean, regardless, it was still a great game. I mean, the Bills, they were in a very great position to possibly take the lead and win this game. But obviously, defense was, got off their heels and, really couldn't stop this offense, especially the run game. And then obviously, with the Tyler Bass, the kicking situation, funny, we called it. I don't know, put the screenshot of the group chat.
Oh, yeah, I'll probably throw it up there. Yeah.
Put the screenshot there to show like how just funny it was. Me calling it, but Sean McDermott is definitely one of the topics to get into with the Buffalo Bills team and see where he's gonna go in the near future with this team.
Yeah, obviously a lot of bulletin board material going down into this divisional round. So I see down to the top 4 teams going into championship weekend. Won't be getting really into it here, but obviously, we'll have the bracket up. I'm gonna get you guys ready for our championship weekend preview coming out in a couple of days. I see that's going to wrap us up. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys back soon.